The next session is Good Practices in Skill Development States. Without further ado, let me invite the panel onto the stage for Good Practices in Skill Development States, Shri Shanavas S. IAS, Secretary, Labor and Skills Development. Next up, Soumya Bajaj, Economist, World Bank. May I have the panelists onto the stage? And this session will be moderated by Dr. Madhuri Dubey, Founder, Director, National Skills Network.
Hello, good evening, everyone. It's a privilege to be anchoring this session. And this session is going to be slightly different from the others that you must have attended, where you had many panelists. Here we're going to have an in-depth discussion. And also, I feel, sir, we should be reflecting, right, Soumya? We should also be reflecting on few things that we have been doing at the state level. So I have with me an official from the state itself, from Kerala. Welcome to the session again, sir. And Soumya, who is representing World Bank. What else we want, right? We all need funding. We all need to understand the importance of utilizing the funds and, getting the outcomes that we are supposed to get. So let me start with, no, sir. So first we would like to hear from you. Let's start with the kind of skilling initiatives that are happening in Kerala and get the framework behind this. I'm sure there is a kind of an underlying framework because may I request others to please focus here. The audience? Yeah, how many of you are interested to hear about the skilling framework of Kerala, which you can go back and share? I'm so glad. Thank you, thank you. Yeah, so let's hear from sir about the skilling framework. You might be aware that Kerala is one of the leading states in the country which had many innovative skill development projects right from the school level. From ASAP at the school level, which was one of the unique ones, to various initiatives like Kudumba Shri, which is for women, and in between you have ITIs, you have the K-DISC initiatives, and ASAP for colleges, and so on and so forth. So, sir, can we get started
Sure.
with the initiatives?
From the World Bank, we are quite happy and lucky to have a representative from the World Bank to this summit. As ma'am has already said, I feel that actually we are the luckiest lot because we have got a lot of time to reflect on ourselves and also to say to tell you some stories also. I am not basically a good storyteller, but again, I will actually reminiscence on some my experience. Before joining into the Labor Secretariat as Special Secretary Labor, I was working for the last 2.5 years as General Education Director. I was actually Director of General Education for the last 2.5 years. So, skilling is a continuous process. Basic education is also skilling. But before coming to that, I will set the tone for my speech. I like the person Charles Darwin because, Darwin is very famous for his seminal work on origin of species. What he said was that we are not the best. We were never the best species in terms of physical strength or the capacity of our brain. We were not. But still, we are at the top of the ecosystem, the food chain, everything. Now we control this earth. Why? There were chiropteryx, dinosaurs, mammoths, and the like. They all become extinct, and we survived. And among us also, there were Neanderthals, Homo erectus, but Homo sapiens existed, thrived, civilizations were built, cultures were made, and now we are the masters of this universe. Why? There is only one word. We adapted. We adapted. All other species actually gone, or now it is beyond or behind or below our control or under our control, because we were the best in terms of adaptation. Skilling also is the same. I remember in my childhood, my grandfather was a contractor. So at times he has to clear the bills and all from the bank. So there was an SBT, it is called the State Bank of Travancore. Now it has got merged with the SBI. I used to go there. So it was all, in my childhood, it was full of bustling sound, the clutters of the typewriter, and the people queuing in endless queues, actually waiting for the bills to be cleared and the payments to be made. And there will be people actually who were actually in the process of actually clearing and counting the notes and other things. And they were so immersed in those work. And I used to actually want to ask, why, how come I be employed in a kind of a bank? Then my father used to say, you have to be very good in arithmetical accuracy, because it's all full of ledgers and accounts. So that is the skill that you require. So you study maths very well. Then I can write for the exams. The bank examinations, the manager, the probationary officer test was there. Today in the morning, I went to the nearby bank to do some RG, some fund transfer. And then bank contains only 8 people. From the hundreds of people who were working in a small branch, now the main branch in Ernakulam, or a sub-branch in Ernakulam, who is doing enormous fund transfer in a day, is having not more than 10 people. Why? The technology has changed. And bank got adapted to the new technology. And that guy actually who is my relationship manager. I called him last week saying that I have to do some transaction for which I need your help. I am coming to Ernakulam. So he said that, sir, I am in Phuket. I am getting some training, a 2-day training. I will be back this week. So in the morning I asked him, how was your training and all? Sir, it was a 2-day training in Phuket. Was it good? Sir, it was very informative. The first session was very informative. He said, how? They informed that we are all going to lose their job, because the AI has come. And I asked him, then the second session they said that if you want to survive, you have to master the AI. You have to adapt to the new situation. The guy is not more than 30 years of age. He has got a master's in economics. But the thing is that by the age of 22, he might have actually come out as MA in economics. But if you want to survive after 8 years, he have to relearn. He have to augment himself. He have to retrofit himself. The change is very, 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 very fast nowadays. So as a person who is representing the labor and the skilling department, the one and foremost challenge that I am facing is how to tune to this everlasting, ever-changing environment of our society. In education also this was the case. The moment we teach something, it is become outdated. I was just actually telling my friends that this mobile is 6 months old. But this is already outdated. New models have come in its place, right or not? But in my childhood, actually my father actually purchased a Mark III Ambassador. We used it for 10 years, from 72 to 84. Then in 84, the new model came. Then only we got it changed. The rate of change is, I think some of you might have actually read Alvin Toffler, his Future Shock. In 70s, he has written what will happen in future. The rate of change will be so huge, every day will be a shock for us, even for a person who is living in a rural area. So the situation is very, very, very challenging for a person who trains or actually who runs an industrial training institute or a skilling center. By the time you set a curriculum, you feel that some of it's already been outdated, that some of the curriculum, part of it's already been outdated. So the main challenge is how to prepare for the change, how to prepare our children, our student, or upcoming generation for the change. What I feel is that we have to train them to adapt. That is one thing. And we have to train them in soft skills. And in general education department, what we have done is, from class 5th onwards, we have introduced work-based education. In Malayalam, it is called Thozhil Adhisthita Vidyabhyasam. We have created textbooks in 12 realms, whether it is plumbing, whether it is electrification, some basic skills. And we are introducing that to our children, our students from the class 6th onwards. So that they should actually get master into at least some 3 or 4 or 5 basic skills. So after they're passed out of the 12th standard, they can decide what is their core competency, what is their strength, what is their liking, so that they can pursue the area of skilling. So that is where actually now I will stop here, and I have some more things to share with you. But again, this is one model Kerala has developed, the first of its kind in India, that from the school side itself, now we have introduced the concept of skilling, basic skilling, in an age-appropriate manner to each and every student. The opportunity will be given to each and every student to select minimum 3 or 4 skilling area out of these 12 headings. And we have started a mass skilling program in the school level itself. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, sir. I think that was a very personal touch that you added to the kind of skilling ecosystem, the evolution, I would say, in Kerala, which, as I already told you, it stands as one of the unique ecosystems in India. And also, ideally, in this session, we should have also been examining others, but we could not. But maybe there will be some other occasion to look at other states as well. So one thing I would like to point out, having been in this entire space for more than 10 years and also with about close to 30 years of experience of mine in the world of work, I see that in India, many states are taking many initiatives, okay, at the state level, of course. And each state has unique demographics. So we can't just say India has a demographic dividend. I would say each state has a demographic dividend. Because if you look at the youth of Kerala, the people here, the young people here would be very different from the youth of Assam, right? So the diversity and complexity of the kind of people, the youth we have, demands, like sir was saying, a quick adaptability. Like the good example he gave about the change, the rapid change of technology, the AI, which we are talking about every day. I would like to ask Soumya now how she perceives this quick changing situation, because as we know, World Bank has been funding very, very critical initiatives in India, like the Strive program for ITIs, and also many others at the state level, but I don't want to go into the details of it. But Soumya, you as a person, how do you perceive the kind of changes that we see at the school level, at the college level? Maybe you can leave out the financing bit and share your story. That will probably read different, I mean, we can get a different perspective on that, right?
Thank you so much. Also, this panel is so special because you've immediately removed our professional hats and asked us our own perspective. I think what you're saying, Madhuri, starts to really point at the importance of foundational learning. I think if we start preparing our cohorts with basic skills, basic literacy and numeracy skills, it doesn't matter what the world changes into and what pace it takes, like Sir says, they are going to be prepared for it. I started my career in this field. I actually first used to be an investment banker with Goldman Sachs. And I moved into this development sector after starting to volunteer with an organization and being a teacher. In my teaching pedagogy, we were taught to train kids in English and math. It would be an evening school, and the assumption there was that if a child knows better English and math, they will have better income opportunities, irrespective of which field they choose to enter into. There is also global evidence now to back this. If you look at the PISA scores and map it against GDP of countries, you will see countries that have higher scores in PISA also end up having better economic outcomes. They have higher GDP growth. You see the same thing with numeracy skills. OECD calculates PIAAC scores. India is not a part of it, but we can garner some insights from the averages. And if an adult scores 50 points on the exam, every 50-point increase leads to an approximately 18% increase in their income levels. These are the averages, but it just helps us understand the importance of foundational learning. Skill is not only, like I think you started, sir, very rightly by saying that like basic learning is also a skill. And skills are therefore also learning. We shouldn't forget that there is pedagogy involved in skill education as well. So to answer your question, Madhuri, very simply, if our skills programs start focusing on foundational learning, both at school education level, but also in ITI, TVETs and higher education, just to identify what are the foundational level parameters that we're going after. And if students have insights into that, they will be ready for the changing nature of work. And the other one we've heard all day from all the other panels as well, that the focus needs to move away from technical skills to soft skills. That transition is very important. Employers are not looking for whether you know how to operate a machine, but they are looking for, they're ensuring that you know how to learn at least. If they employ you, do you have the basic discipline of showing up to work in time? I used to work on the field in Kalinganagar in my previous life in a greenfield project. And this was the first time farmers were transitioning into workers in a factory. And they had to be trained into getting up every morning because they were used to working only in seasons. And now to transition from working at a seasonal level to working around the year, 9 to 5, showing up on time, these are also very relevant skills. So one, I would say focus on foundational learning, and second is focus on soft skills are very, very important in adapting to the changing nature of work. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Soumya. I think the example you picked up, especially I'm sure we all can connect. For instance, when a farmer has to become an industrial worker, that applies to all of us, right? One thing which I feel, sir, we should all look back when we talk about skilling is, when we look back at our careers, has your career been a straight ladder which you climbed? Didn't we fall from the ladder? Again we got up, we climbed again, right? But when we are talking to the young people, most of the time we are presenting a scenario like there is a ladder and you climb. So I think with the kind of 2 or 3 things that came up from what Soumya was just saying is the ability to learn quickly, that is agile learning as we call it. I think that will be a very important key distinguishing factor if somebody has to be successful in their careers. Right? And also understanding that at the foundational level, what is it that we are inculcating among the youth, the school-going children and others. So with this, let me ask Sir now about, Sir, in Kerala, I'm sure you've kind of looked at the importance of non-technical skills, right? And when we talk about preparing youth for the job market or global mobility as we call today is becoming so crucial for all of us. Sir, are there any things that are being included as a part of the college curriculum? Because, you know, when students are in college, they don't even know what is job market, or even the parents don't know. If you ask me, I would say the awareness has to start from the parents also. Right, sir?
What Madam Soumya has said, actually, I will start from there. Soft skills is more permanent rather than technical skills. Technology changes, but if technology is the bread, the butter, or the cheese in between is the soft skill. Communication, the mastery of the language, and the problem-solving skills, the critical thinking, analytical thinking skills, out-of-the-box and thinking, and design thinking. And we have understood some years back itself. And as a part of a school curriculum, not in the +2 level, but in the school, the secondary level itself, we have actually introduced a pedagogy which includes the development of all these skills, especially the design thinking and analytical, the questions and exams are being actually remodeled to include these type of questions, of course, on an age-appropriate manner. And more and more work has to be done in this field itself. But again, using IT and other techniques, we are actually continuing our work on this in this field. Regarding the global mobility, in Kerala, we are the pioneers in global mobility. We reached out to all continents, even before any other state, including the most developed states in India, have actually even start dreaming of. Maybe because of our historical connection with the other countries, because we are, as somebody during the last session rightly pointed out, one side of our state is full of sea. More than 760 kilometers of Kerala is a seashore. So Europeans came first to Kerala, then only to other parts of India. So along with that, they made us a colony first, but along with that, they brought the Western education. The oldest school in the entire South India is in Kerala. I'm a proud, a student of that institution. But again, the first printing press in India has been actually in the neighboring district of Kottayam. So we were actually, education, Western type of education, and this exposure through the centuries actually we were actually connected to other parts of the world even before, what you said, some 1,000 years or 500 years or so. But so that connection was always there, and that is actually put us a global person so far as the Keralites are concerned, because we were the first to go to Persia when the Gulf boom started. In fact, we were never strong in agriculture or industry. We never had any strong industrial or agriculture base, because the Kerala is such a small state, and our with a population density more than 1,000. Earlier it was 742. So now we cannot actually dream of having a huge tracts of land suitable for a kind of a large-scale industry or large-scale farming. So what we invested was in the tertiary sector, in the service sector, which actually paid for the development of our HR, human resources. So in HR indices, we were actually on par with, not with the other states of Kerala, but with the developed countries of the Europeans, many of the European countries. So that actually took us to the Gulf first, and then to the Europe, and then to Australia and United States in the third level. In fact, all these developments that you are seeing is the foreign returns, out of the foreign returns that these people actually brought back to Kerala. The one good example is the very building that we are sitting here. This actually is owned by an NRI. And all these developments that you can see in Kerala is because of the forex, the Gulf, the money that the NRI, the contributions from the NRI community. So that is where actually we have scored. Why actually now we are actually trailing back is also because the market that we used to tap are now being slowly but almost continuously getting closed. And that is the challenge for Kerala now. See, Gulf actually or Europe, their HR area or the job market was once a monopoly so far as the states, the people from the Kerala was concerned, because among the other states, we were the most literate and most educated. That place is slowly eroding, and more and more countries, more and more states is actually coming and competing with us, and in various other segments, we have been totally replaced by people from some other southeastern South Asian countries also. For example, Philippines, Indonesia, Malaysia, even Bangladesh, maybe because they are ready to actually offer their service at a lower rate. But again, that is also a competition. So what we have done is, when we are actually looking at the skilling that is required, we are actually going after to those countries what made them to actually successfully compete with us, and what actually equipped them to replace us, and what is happening in those countries, how they are actually being skilled, how their young people, younger generation are being tutored, and what kind of skill set they are actually earning and learning from their ITAs, from their institutions, from their schools. And actually we are after that. And actually we are doing a lot of R&D on those also. And definitely, since we don't have any agriculture base, we don't have any strong industrial base, this is the only way we can actually sustain our development in the long-term process. We have to again reinvent ourselves so that in HR development, so that we can actually retain the edge in job markets, not only in India, but also outside. And again, madam, one more thing that I forgot to fully reply to your query, that how we are going to do the skilling. That we have got many pioneering institutions in Kerala. One is ASAP, Acquired Skill, Additional Skill Acquisition Program is there. And also skill development centers. We have got 210 skill development centers across state, in which any person below 23, for SC/ST it is 25, they can come back and actually do a relearning process. I told you, adaptability includes not only that we have to learn, relearn, and again to retrofit ourselves, to re-equip ourselves. So we have now set up a system, an ecosystem, total ecosystem, by way of ASAP and our SDCs, so that people can actually come back after spending 1 or 2 years in the industry, that if they feel that they need more skill, more kind of a retuning of their skills, then they can always come back and retrain themselves for 6 months or 1 year. It's full of free, and then re-equip themselves, then they can go back. And that is one way of actually, maintaining our edge in the job market, so that we always remain in demand.
Thank you, sir. And also the bonus inputs or the insights we got from you is the historical perspective about Kerala. That is quite a bit of learning. We sometimes forget the roots, from where these things come up, about how the education system works or how the employment system works in a particular state. So now when we hear about so many initiatives, like we just heard about the programs at the school, college level, and also I'm sure you have training of trainers program, instructor training, and teachers training, and so many others. What is most important is a source of funding, which helps us really run these programs successfully, and along with that comes accountability. So let me ask Soumya now this very interesting perspective or points about what are some of the parameters, Soumya, from World Bank when funding is done. Like maybe you can give us a very basic, the ABCs of these for the audience to go back with some learning on this.
Thanks for that question, Madhuri.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll try to illustrate that with an example. You mentioned Strive at the outset of your introduction, so I'll pick up from there. So there is a big push within the organization and even otherwise on outcome-based funding, on not just focusing on inputs, but holding ourselves accountable to the outcomes. So a big innovation that was done under the Strive program was a focus on performance-based grants. So what was included in the project design was that ITIs and states that sign up or want to be beneficiaries of this grant, they must agree to a performance-based system. To be eligible for that, they had to create institutional plans. And Strive, the objective of the Strive project was to improve was to improve the quality of training in ITIs, to make it more market relevant. So in these institutional plans, the states and ITIs had to list out how they're going to do that. And funding was based on the quality of the performance. The selection was based on this institutional plan that they had submitted. Close to 500 ITIs were supported through this, and over 600,000 trainees were trained through the program. The other thing on accountability that the project very interestingly introduced was tracer studies. So what it tried to do to ensure that we're not just focusing on we've trained X amounts of students, or we have invested in X amount of money, but it shifted the conversation to what are these students doing, or what have these students learned. So what these tracer studies try to monitor is the feedback from the students. They try to incorporate what is the real learning that the students have, one, taken out of the classes. Second, it monitored how many of them have achieved on-the-job training. It monitored how many were actually placed after these training programs. And these helped to do a very rigorous pre-post analysis. So for instance, we learned that close to 30% students were able to achieve on-the-job training. Now what this tells us both is pros and cons. How did the 30% achieve it, and why did the rest not get it, or where could the linkages be better? The other thing was also the big achievement that we saw was in terms of placement rates. Before this, there would be about 10% students placed. After going through the ITI program, that number increased to close to 50%. So incorporating these outcome-based metrics into the program design and weaving that in was a really big win for us. So I'll illustrate your point through these two examples for the moment.
Thank you so much. I think that has also simplified the way we look at how funding happens. Do we have 5 minutes? Or, yeah? 5 to 10 minutes? 10 minutes, huh? 10 minutes, okay. So this would be actually the last question to both of you, and a common question before we invite our audience questions. So one common question to both of you. When we look at skilling program, technical training, the most important thing is numbers, targets. We are often, chasing these targets, and we all know it's a known story that when we chase targets, the quality suffers, and the consistency goes for a toss, and then that impacts the potential of this person to get a job, or the people who get trained. So how do we get out of this kind of a cycle of things that keep happening? This could be also because we are such a huge country, and we are a huge country, and the numbers, all these are known things in the skilling ecosystem. So can we get some fresh action points from both of you to overcome this kind of a situation where we take care of quality, at the global standards? Like Sir said, Kerala has set an example for global mobility. I'm sure Kerala also has the history of being the most literate, and many other such achievements, right, as a state. So probably combining all this, probably few points that you think should be taken forward, and you also from your perspective.
The last session, somebody discussed about the demographic dividend. The demographic dividend may be correct in other state, but here the income group that has been selected for the demographic dividend, what I have understood, is from 15 to 64 years, and that the government expect that from 15 the guy should go to work. But those people who are from Kerala understand that nobody in Kerala goes to work at the age of 15. After 15, we go for the +2 or the higher secondary, and then we go for graduation. If possible, we go for the post-graduation also. Here, the working age in Kerala starts at the age of 21 or 22. Nobody goes to work at the age of 15. So the demographic dividend calculation nationally actually is totally erroneous when it comes to Kerala. So by starting that, why we are not getting the best talent in ITI is that after ITI, it is the end of the road. Because ITI has no other mobility in terms of further education. Because the design is in such a way that there was a time in India when after the first 5-year plan, which was actually the thrust area was on agriculture, the second 5-year plan was rolled out, the thrust area was for the industrialization. So for these two 5-year plans, what we require was we need the basic skilled people at each and every corner of our nation. So building and establishing engineering colleges was not a possibility at all, not at all viable at that time by taking the financial condition of the state. So engineering college was set up only in prime centers, and below that polytechnics were established, and polytechnic also was not viable at that time in each and every nook and corner of the country. So below that we had started to set up a lower level skilling institute called ITIs, which will actually propel the growth both in because in agriculture also it was mechanization has happened. So the tillers, tractors and the sprayers also need some kind of maintenance, for which some basic skilling has to be there. People with some basic skilling has to be there, and that is the very purpose behind this establishment of these ITIs. Now the situation has changed to such a level that in Kerala, in what is happening is in engineering colleges, more than 10,000 or 15,000 seats are vacant. So now the prospects for higher education is so common and available to each and every person that no, we cannot attract the best talents to the ITA sector, because the sad thing is that after ITA, you cannot go for even +2 or even for degree courses. It has not been equated with the +2 courses. So that is the most important defect of the ITA system in India, whereas now we have actually, Kerala has actually started a process of actually equalizing the ITA courses with the +2 courses, so that after ITA, they can actually go to either the engineering courses or degree courses. So that mobility, once that mobility is ensured, I am sure that we have got 50,000 seats in ITA in Kerala. All the government ITAs are now filled because we are giving free education, but the private ITAs, the admission is only up to 50%, and that is the same case in other states also. There are lakhs and lakhs of seats in ITA now remaining vacant because there is no mobility at all. And once that mobility is ensured, by in terms of skilling and further skilling, otherwise he has to again go for +2, spend some 2 years, and then only he can go for degree courses. Who will actually spend that kind of a time? Nobody has time now. So that situation has to change if we want to actually attract a better student force with a better, a good talented student force that is to come to the ITA side. So that is the number one thing that we have to do. So across the state, the state the secretaries or the government should actually flock together, come together, and actually put a joint proposal for a radical shift in the equalization process of ITA courses with the +2. Otherwise, we will actually fail to attract the best talent in the state who are really interested in the ITA sector, industrial training sector. That is point number one. Another one is why we should have this much of ITAs. In 60s, when the urbanization started, urbanization was actually equated with industrialization, which actually gone with the same with the more number of employment. Industrialization, urbanization is equated with more employment. Now in the post-industrial or super-industrial state, the more industrialization, more technology means that requires lesser number of hands. With the advent of AIs, now we actually speak about maintenance-free systems. Means what? We don't require any guy for maintenance, or we require only minimum number of people. So the total demand for this kind of people is actually coming down, even though we speak about India being more industrialized day by day. So these aspect also has to be looked into, and I feel that it is high time that ITS should be converted into some kind of centers of skills, so that actually the people can be trained, as I told, in soft skills, which has got more permanence, which can be actually applicable or can be made used in various other segments also, or more and more arena or more and more areas of skills also has to be added into its fold, so that otherwise, once we actually move into the super industrialized stage, we may not actually require this number of people. So that aspect also has to be considered. So this is the time for actually transition of ITIs into a more robust and more diversified sector of skilling, so that the future needs in every sector can be catered with these institutions. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Just one point I thought I would also like to add is for ITI mobility, I think few states are also following the NIOS open schooling, right? That's also one of the things. And by the way, just before I go to you, Soumya, for all the audience, sir is going to be a part of another discussion tomorrow on ITIs. We have you. So please do join us tomorrow. That's going to be another very exciting discussion about ITIs. We are going to look at many more themes there. Yeah, over to you.
Thank you. No, actually, sir touched upon the importance also of the newly launched ITI scheme. And has very nicely summarized in many ways the hub and spoke model that the new scheme attempts to launch. And that is one part of the answer to your question, Madhuri, the importance of this, along with I think the new ITI scheme, the national education policy, as well as the national credit framework, together create a very nice model of a skilling ecosystem, creating pathways wherein today a plumber or a carpenter or somebody from the informal sector no longer needs to stick to the informal sector. Through recognition of prior learning and modules that are available, they are able to now reintegrate themselves into the formal education system, or gain higher order skills in their own area of interest and expertise. So this idea of like being stuck, or if you're born into a certain family, or if you find yourself in a certain profession, to be stuck in that profession, even for, it would be a very white collar job conversation, but that no longer exists given how these three policies are talking. And in answering your second part of the question of like, how do we make this effective and reach it on the ground? I think decentralization and contextualization of best practices is probably the only way to go. We have seen this succeed in our SIMO operation, Skill India Mission operation, which instituted district skill councils, as a part of which at a district level committees were formed with professional support, with technical expertise, through Mahatma Gandhi, through support of through Mahatma Gandhi fellows. And the testimony of this is in many of these Mahatma Gandhi fellows actually being integrated back into the system. Many of them were hired into the ministries, given the success of the work and the success of this integration. Because having this focused attention, a committee that is held accountable, is meeting regularly, has a plan, is funded accordingly for that plan, really helped bring all of this to life. And I think these best practices already exist. I think the challenge is going to be in identifying and ensuring that there is evidence to back these best practices, and then scaling them up with support of state governments. So yes, I think the short answer is decentralization and contextualization for you. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, sir, and thank you, Soumya. We heard different perspectives and very interesting, flow of the entire narration, which was very casual, and I'm sure you also found it very useful and, insightful. So I would like to invite your questions and points that you wish to ask, sir, and, to learn more about what the future plans are or anything that comes to your mind. And also from the World Bank perspective, if you have any questions, please share them now. I think we have about 5 minutes for questions. That's it? Yeah? Okay.
Thank you for such a wonderful session, Madhuri and the two eminent panelists. This question I have is to Mr. Shanavas. Sir, we talked about, I think Soumya talked about technical and behavioral of the soft skills, and you touched upon it, kind of elaborated on it. Traditionally, in our Indian context, there's a lot of emphasis for technical skills, and the central QPNOS programs primarily are centered around technical skills. Both the government of Kerala and the central government try and look to see if we can get some level of standardization and incentivization for specifically soft skills, especially for industries like us when we are, this is Subbaraman representing HCL Technologies, right? Services industry. And you did talk about Kerala, given the land acreage footprint being small, you resorted to services. Now, can we try and bring a lot more standardization from a certification standpoint that industries like us can seamlessly consume, which could probably be funded by the World Bank kind of model? I'm just thinking aloud a model which could probably be set to scale.
Sir, could you please introduce yourself also?
Yeah, this is Subbaraman Balasubramanian from HCL Technologies.
Yeah, you were there in the previous discussion. Okay.
Thank you very much, because that is the real problem with our institutes. We always see technology as the hardcore technology, and the skill also has the technical skills and all. I have seen many of the younger generation who have passed the beta courses and then going for the finishing schools. You know what is finishing school stands for? It actually where actually you are honing their soft skills, your communication skill, your presentation skill, the way you actually, even actually the grooming also they will actually train, how to wear a tie and all, how to be present in a meeting, how to actually speak, what is your modulation, how to actually comb your hair, and how to, so these kind of things are totally absent, even actually in a 5-year curriculum. So what is actually teaching them is only the totally very barren technical things. I won't say, sorry to use the word barren, but again, see, skill has both the soft side as well as a hardcore side. So both has to be taught. So that is why when I said that it is not industrial training centers, has to be remodeled into centers of skill, what I am in mind is that actually we should have a both sides of the spectrum in which both the technical as well as the soft skill has to be taught. The students has to be trained in both realm, so that then only it will actually come to a complete, what you call it, technical person. We actually used to have technocrat. And that actually word means that actually he is not a hardcore technician, but he is actually well-versed in this soft skill also, where actually he can communicate, he can present himself, and he can even actually communicate and actually connect to various people so that he gets gather, and there will be gathering, good connection between the other people also. So by that actually there's a learning and actually giving and actually taking back all these informations. And that is the only way we can adapt to the changing situations. If we actually closing us down, actually into a silos, and we will never actually learn. So we have to get connected to each other. We have to be responsive to what is happening around us. For this soft skill is a must. So if that is why I told you, it's something like a butter that is actually being placed between two bread. Then actually that actually makes sense. Then only actually we can say that actually he get the full set of skills. You have actually touched a very good point, and thank you very much for actually highlighting that.
Thank you. Thank you, sir, for explaining and giving this response. Is there anybody else who has any questions for the panelists? So with this, we conclude this panel discussion. Thanks once again, all the organizers, for having us here. And I hope the event, which has a very, it has a lot of significance actually, why, such a wonderfully planned event with so many perspectives, so many people is happening. I hope, like in the past, Kerala has set precedents and has really set a lot of trends in education, in skilling. Now with this event, probably Kerala will catalyze fresh thought, fresh action, and fresh way to look at technical training and skill development in our country. Thank you so much.